Today, we're talking about the brilliant methodology of IFS, which is a modality of parts work to look at shame and guilt and keeping ourselves small. How can we work with this? What does it mean to be in self energy versus being in a part? And what is the result of that? Because let me tell you, when we are in a part, when we are dysregulated, this is where the results suck. Even if we're not being small, but we're showing up from a part, the results are going to be so different than in self energy. And if you want to know what that all means and know how to work it, please listen to this wonderful interview. So, welcome. And by the way, you share a name with my mom.
Really? Oh
Yes.
my gosh. I grew up with this name that I could never find a keychain. It was never on like the t-shirts or anything like. So whenever I hear that someone else has this name, I get so excited.
Yeah, it's not very common, right? But it is very common in Ukraine.
Is it?
Yes. And she goes also by Lara.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, for short. Yeah. So
Learn
that's
something new
very
today.
lovely. So I'm already loving your energy so very much, and I'm so grateful that you are here. And I'm curious what got you into this work.
Yeah. I've always loved helping people. Like I was the person that people would just come to me and just start talking and ask questions, and I would say things that people would then say, that was really helpful. I felt good afterwards. And so I found myself in the therapy field. I started off, I thought I wanted to be a music teacher, and then I realized quickly, no, I don't. But yeah, I figured out a way to be able to use music and help people in music therapy. I started there first. I did that for like about 12 years, and then I went into the counseling field. Wanted to kind of merge more of the verbal techniques along with the nonverbal with the music. And so now I've just kind of been here in this space, and I kind of moved into specializing and working with women and teen girls through my research that I did when I was working at the hospital, mainly focusing on women. And then I kind of reached way back to my experience and working with teen girls and like a practicum experience. And it was like, I don't ever want to work with teen girls. And then it's like, I love teen girls. So being able to kind of merge the two and creating my own practice and creating a space and where ah here I can work with this population and really focus in on relationship. The more that I understand that, that's what's important for us is relationship. And that's how we really connect and are able to move through whatever it is that we're experiencing.
So true. The relationship of your clients with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so true. And do you combine, like, I'm curious if you combine music therapy with IFS somehow.
Ooh, I have not. I have not done that. I have so many thoughts and ideas of not only just IFS, but with EMDR, and just gotta have the time to be able to explore that and do that
One day.
one day.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we were speaking earlier about getting small, struggling to use our voice. I think that this is so huge for women and girls, especially.
yeah,
And it's becoming better, but I think that it's also in some ways becoming scarier at the same time. That's
yeah.
my sense. And yeah, what would you like to share about that?
Yeah. Over time, and even more so today, it seems like it's just been really loud today. This idea of shrinking yourself in order to move about the space so that I'm not seen, I'm not making too much of a wave. Um, and I need to get a need met, but to do it in a loud kind of way is is not acceptable, or it's caused me problems, it's caused me trouble, or it's not received well. And so, like, how do I get to this place in where I can really not only just connect to my voice and learn that I have one and now learn how to use it and then go out in the world and it not be received well. And so then therefore I shrink and then I kind of go back into this small place because I'm not exactly sure how the world is receiving me or will receive me.
Yeah. And I mean, I think this is like a concept we hear in personal development a lot. I'm wondering if we could make it even more felt and practical with like maybe examples or the felt sense. Like, what does it mean to shrink?
Yeah. Let me see if I can make this really, because this is a great example with the experience that I had today. But so this idea of I have, I'll just use myself. Make it
I
easy.
love I love it.
I have these grand ideas, right? And then I have this grand idea. I want to write a book. I feel like I got a story to tell. I have some knowledge that things that I say over and over again, or people have asked me. And so now I want to put it into this thing. I don't want to tell anybody about it, you know? So it's like I move forward through it and I do it. I write it. It's out. And then it's like, shh, what do you do? Don't tell people about it. Like, I need to keep it small right here in this space because I'm not quite sure how people will receive what it is that I have to say or if they will receive it at all. Will they view it as important? Will they view it as important enough that they would want to go out and get this thing? And then would they actually read it? But if they do, what happens that now that they're actually hearing my voice, that is so scary. That is so scary. This idea that it's out there, my thinking, my belief, or my experiences are now being shared with others, even if it's just one. So that's me using myself, but then you can kind of put that onto your own experiences or any other of like, here is a part of me, a piece of me that's going out into the world. Because once it goes out, I don't have any more control over it. It's out there. I can't control how people will receive it. I can't control what people will do with it after that either, right? And it makes it really scary, this idea of that here's this thing that is a part of me is now out there. And so to think that all of those things could be a possibility, I'd rather not. Let me just come back into my shell and just sit here quietly because what it is safer to shrink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's like so much in there. I mean, vulnerability.
Mm,
I'm
yes.
gonna be exposed. I'm gonna be seen. I'm gonna be vulnerable. Control and letting go of control. And then
Mhm.
ultimately, I feel like safety, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Are these things all related to our childhoods, do you think? Or is it also related to our culture or generations, especially for women? Where are these things coming from?
Box C, all of the above. Like all of the above, right? Like our experiences in childhood play a huge part because it's those experiences that then shape us. They shape us into who, even with all of the work that we may be doing or have done, there's core pieces that from that experience that still kind of remain, right? And then you add in that cultural piece, like whatever the belief systems were of your culture or are in your culture, then that also shapes our experiences, and then how we show up, and how, culturally, is it okay for you as a woman or a young girl to be able to speak, to speak your truth, to just speak to anything? Like, is that okay? Is it safe to do it or not? Like, are there some significant consequences that could come to you for using your voice? You know? So yeah, gender wise, like how gender and culturally within wherever you are living, like then what is the meaning behind all of that? Like, how are you viewed um in that environment? And so whether or not do I show myself, or is it safe? I keep going back to safety, right? But is it safe enough or not? Yeah.
Because also sometimes it truly was not smart for women, right, to speak up because they could be physically, I mean, let's talk about witches, like witch, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
very real.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious about the difference of speaking your truth from self energy versus
Mm.
from a part. And for people who have no idea what I'm talking about, can you explain that a bit? I'm not IFS trained, by the way, but I'm familiar a bit with IFS.
Okay. Okay. So I'll try to, uh, you know, keep it brief, but explain it as best as possible. So there's this idea from Dr. Richard Schwartz, who developed this technique, this way of thinking and being internal family systems. And this idea of that we come here, that we are born with parts. There's parts of us that, if you've ever found yourself saying, there's a part of me that feels like, there's a part of me that really wants to go, and there's a part of me that's like, no, I want to stay home and go to bed. That this idea that we come here with parts, and that our experiences in childhood and growing up, that there is that potential, that possibility for injury, and our parts then figuring out a way to be able to compensate for whatever that injury was, whether it becomes overreactive or underreactive, right? And then there's this idea of self energy. I like to think of it as, oftentimes I'll explain it as like your adult self or your enlightened self. That self energy is present, and that it is the kind of like all knowing and being. It knows what to do. Um, However, our parts may not be aware that that self energy is present, or it may not be trusting of that self energy. Then there's also like how he refers to as the manager, the firefighter, and the exile. So the exile is the youngest part of you. The manager is the one that's trying to keep everything in line so that the day to day can continue to function. And the firefighter is like, woo, this is way too much. I'm trying to put it out, whether it's with substances, it's overeating, undereating, um, things like that, is how it's viewed. And so the idea of thinking about this from that perspective, that at some point there was an injury that occurred, and depending on, it could be at any age, at any point, right? Of where, say, let's just give an example. Say when I was 5, um, I attempted to like raise my hand and say, hey, I know the answer. I want to, put myself out there and give the answer. And then I was scolded. I was scolded by my teacher that said, "You don't get to speak. You shouldn't have done, that was wrong." Woo, there's the injury. There's the injury, right? And so now, as I'm growing, I go along, that was pretty significant and that hurt really bad. And I don't ever want to have that experience again. And so, what do I do to ensure that that experience doesn't occur ever again? I don't speak. I no longer raise my hand because it's a risk. There's a risk that that old experience may occur again. And that hurt was so great that there is absolutely no way that I can allow for myself to be able to experience that. Now, is it known in that way as articulate? No. At that age, all you know is that that hurt really bad, and I don't wanna have that experience again, and the only way that I know not to have that experience again is not to do it again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. I love how you explain things. So, what happens? How do we work with smallness that has been programmed into us for generations? Like, my mom was like this, my grandma was like this, my great grandma, and they literally kept themselves safe, and maybe they still do, but through this behavior. And oftentimes, not just because they were triggered, but there wasn't any threat, but they actually had threat to their life. So it worked. It was a very good strategy. And now this lives inside of me, and I feel like I can't let it go. It's very sticky. I feel like those generational patterns are so, so sticky.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. Those messages, it's not only just the message, the verbal message that gets passed down, it's the things that they do and that we're watching them do or not do that also get passed down. I think that how do we not do it is a huge question. Um, but one of the ways that I think, and to not oversimplify it, but it's to choose. Right? That's one, I think. And before you're able to choose, I think you have to become aware. You need to be aware that that is a thing, that that actually exists, that it's not just mom that said this, but it was grandmom that said this, and that was grandmom that said this, because through the lineage, that story started down there and kind of came up until the point in which it reached you. And with each generation questions the other generation, right? And so in your questioning of like, what are you talking about? What do you mean it's not safe? Yeah, then it wasn't safe, but now in 2025, I can say what I want to because the people won't even see me if I like to do it that way, right? I can go on social media and say a bunch of stuff, but mom is like, "What? What are you talking about? No, you can't do that. It's not safe." Or you could all the things, right? And so it's at that point in where you're questioning, you're becoming aware of that, oh, there's this message that has come through, and yes, it saved them, but it's faulty now. It's not useful now because why? Where I am at this point, I recognize and I feel a sense of safety in my environment around me, and that I can take the risk of jumping out there and doing it differently from what their experiences has been. And so in order to take that risk, I have to choose to do so. I have to choose to be willing to take the risk of I can hear in the back of my head what she's saying of what could happen, right? But then there's also enough curiosity to be present, which curiosity, if curiosity is around, then that means there's some self energy that's present. There's enough of that to be like, I'm gonna go do this anyway. and see where I land. Because even if it doesn't really turn out for my favor, I get to learn from it, right? It may, I might have got my knees bruised, but they'll heal, and I can get back out there again and try it again. But guess what? I'll try it a little differently, though. I won't do it the exact same way that I did it before. I'll try it a little differently. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that. And I think there is kind of a balance between pushing through something, because eventually we have to take the step and it's not going to be perfect for sure, because it's going to feel messy and uncomfortable and all the things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, could we take that step? You said from curiosity. What happens when and in my language of the nervous system, it's like feeling regulated, like your nervous system is like present, regulated. And from that, as you know, it's again, not perfect, but more like calm, compassionate, all the C words, curious. What happens if I'm not there? Like if I am totally not in self energy, dysregulated, I often get this sense of like my throat being choked almost. It's very, yeah. So how would you work with someone who was there? Like they're aware there is something stopping me and I feel it in my body.
Yeah, that's a great question. As I was listening to you, I was thinking about another experience that I had. Today was full of experiences. There was a lot happening today. Um, but this idea of there's the awareness of how this individual has been moving kind of not just through life, but through a particular experience. And then really working with it and coming to some kind of understanding of it, some reconciliation of it. And then even feeling kind of, I'll just use the terminology. It's like kind of settled with it. Like I know that that was my experience. I'm clear on how and the why and how it's shown up, whether in my past and how it's showing up now. I get it, and I'm going to keep an eye on it, so to speak, right? Um, and so in answering that question of what does it look like if you're not taking that risk or stepping out there from a place of curiosity, calm, connectedness, creativity, it is finding yourself in a relationship. I'm just going to use in a relationship and where there's similar pieces to that old experience that are replaying, and not understanding, well, why is this happening? Why is this person doing this thing that feels really familiar? Like, not saying that, but that's what's happening, and I can't make it stop, right? So there's the connection to the experience kind of in this more global sense, but then there's when you put it in that funnel and it comes down to that really small piece, and now I'm going about living and I'm functioning from the part versus the part that had that old experience versus functioning from the place of my self energy, and where when I if I find myself in that place, I understand that I can get myself out of it because that old thing is no longer. And so I have the tools, the techniques. I'm older, I'm bigger, and I see that, I'm aware of it. And so I can move myself away from the situation. When I'm functioning from a part or that part that has been injured in that particular way, there's a replay. It looks different. There's different characters in the movie, but essentially it's season 3.
Yes. We all go there. That
Yeah.
is so brilliant how you explain that. So How can we recognize when we are living out of a part in a particular relationship or we are living out of self energy? And how do we shift it?
Yeah. Ooh, great question. I would step over into your world and like connecting to the body and being able to recognize, well, identify like what does it feel like for me when I'm in this calm, connected um space, right? And really become familiar with that. At every point and opportunity, being able to connect that with whatever the experience that's being had so that I know it when I feel it, right? And when you feel your body just out of sorts, your mind is out of sorts, like I feel uneasy in my chest. My arms just keep shaking. I don't even know why. My legs are moving or my head hurts. All of a sudden, when I stepped into this room and this person was there and they started saying this thing, my head immediately started hurting when I had no headache before, right? Like connecting with your body and noticing like when the parts of your body are tense, um connecting with your breath, like checking in, are you breathing? I always ask that, like, are you breathing? That your breath is the first thing to go when you're in that hypervigilant state, like bringing yourself back to that. So how do you get to that? Through the breath. It's through the breath, being able to connect to your breath, settling your system, settling your nervous system, so that then the calm, I keep wanting to say collected, but calm, connected, though that energy can then be present.
Okay, now here's the tricky part. You know how we often attract people into our lives, like you said, that are very similar to maybe toxic, maybe challenging, characters from our childhood. And how do we know? Because every relationship will trigger us in some way, right? So I think it's easier to ask in a particular situation, am I like living out of a part? But what about with the same person? If I find myself living out of a part some of the time, which I guess inherently would happen,
Yeah.
how do I know? Like, how do I know if I could just move out of the part and it's my work or it's them or this is a very common question that I think my audience asks themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think the best way that, I can answer that, I think, is if you're asking that question, right? Like, if you're asking the question of, I somehow I keep finding myself with the same person or the same type person, or I find myself in seemingly a different person, but the experience of the relationship is very familiar, and familiar not in a good way. It's this isn't what I want. This is what I was actually trying to get away from. Um, that could be a sign that, mm, like checking in, like what part of me entered into this relationship? What was I feeling? Was I scared? Was I was I sad at the time that this, relationship began? Was I um, feeling uncertain about myself or about my life, about my experiences? Was I feeling desperate? Was I feeling um, like if I if I don't take this opportunity now, that I might not have any other opportunities? So like asking yourself, well, what part of me what part of me entered into this relationship? And maybe even before going, am am I experiencing calm? Am I feeling connected? Am I feeling creativity? Am I curious enough? Like, are those things present? And if so, then I know I'm entering into this with my self energy. And when I'm entering into that with my self energy, those things that don't feel good or are not acceptable, I can walk away from it.
That is such a good point.
Yeah. I
Self
can
energy will know like what's toxic and what's good, right?
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It won't allow for you to stay in it,
Mm,
you know?
love that point. I think that's
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also often ask myself, how old do I feel?
Mm, yes. Yes, yes, yes. That's a great question. I had that experience the other day as part of the work we were doing, and the person was like, I feel really young. Hear that. Because that's the part that's present, right? And so in that work is connecting to, well, how young does that part feel? Right? And what was the experience that was happening then? Like there's an experience that's happening now, but what's happening now is what's triggering what happened then.
Yeah. And then mirroring also, right? It's like similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, coming to a topic that I heard you speak about so brilliantly, which is shame, and I'm also curious about guilt. For me, a very dominant experience is I have a very simple need, very simple, like, I don't know, my car doesn't work and I need help with something. And the guilt for asking for my needs, which is also tied to what we were speaking about with shrinking,
Mhm.
which is an awesome show, by the way. I don't know if you've watched it.
I have.
It triggers therapists. Like all my therapist friends are like, I can't watch that show. And I'm like, no, but it's funny. It's not
Yeah.
meant to be real.
Yeah.
Anyway, just thought about it. Um, so that guilt, that guilt that comes when you have a need and then you shrink yourself, you shrink that need. How do we work with this? And what is kind of, the relationship between shame and guilt?
Yeah. So the best way that I've for myself have been able to kind of keep the two like in their pockets is like with guilt is um I did something bad. And so I did something bad and so now I feel guilty about it, right? And whereas shame is I am bad. And so now I need to small myself because I am inherently bad. I'm not good, right? And so this idea of, all right, so I need to ask for help because my car isn't working. Somewhere down the line, the experience was that um, you're doing something bad when you ask for help. It's a bad thing to go and ask somebody to help you when your car is broken down or I don't know how to do something, then that's the message that is received, right? And so then there's in order for me to get out of this space or to move to this thing, I have to do it. And so I stretch my neck out there and now I've asked for the help and so now I feel guilty because that was the thing I wasn't supposed to do, right? um
Or bad things happen when I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm bad for doing it, which is a shame, right?
Mhm.
Or something bad will happen if I do it, which is more like guilt, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this idea of that, well, like, because you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it on your own. So there's something wrong with you. There's something bad with you. And so I feel shameful and that I wasn't able to do this thing that I then had to go and now ask for help. And so I did the thing that I wasn't supposed to do. And so now the guilt. I'm riddled with guilt because I did the thing that I wasn't supposed to do, and that was to ask. Yeah.
That's interesting. I never thought about how shame might come first.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so how do we work with this? How do we work with these parts? And
Yeah.
through IFS too, and in your book.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we underestimate this. Well, maybe not, but at least in in around when I'm talking with different individuals, underestimating the idea of awareness. Like you can't change a thing that you have no idea is present. And that's one of the things I talk about in my book is that like getting to this place and where we can become aware that there is an experience that's been had that is interfering with what I'm trying to do and where I'm trying to go, right? Sometimes that awareness is made present in a conversation that you're having with the person. They might be sharing how they experience you. And if you're able to hear it, then you're like, oh, is that what that's how you see me? Or that's what I'm doing. I wasn't even aware that I was doing it, right? Or it may come in the form of a report from work. You get the yearly assessment of how what you've done, right? And how people experience you and what they think of you. And so awareness may come there. Awareness may come through the therapy process. Awareness may come from hearing a reel on IG or on TikTok or something like that. Like, oh, I never even thought about that. Oh, I do that all the time, kind of thing. Um, but becoming a
Or something terrible that happens, right? Like you hit rock bottom. I mean, a lot of my awareness comes that way, unfortunately. You're unhappy and you're like, why?
yeah,
And then you
yeah, yeah.
see things.
Yeah, I even think of that as like, oh, you're aware, but do you believe it?
You don't want to see it. You want to
Yeah.
close, you want to have a little blindfold.
Yeah, and it's a little easier that way in the moment until, right? So, yeah, it's becoming aware that this exists. And it's not necessarily natural, so to speak, that we think about ourselves in parts unless you're in this kind of in this world or you've had the experience of the therapy process and where that was a technique that was used. But it in having more conversations like this that, is where everyone starts to become more aware and can think about it in that way of, huh, I wonder I wonder what this is connected to. So now I'm aware of this experience. And here's where like having that curiosity of like, I wonder what this is connected to. This experience feels familiar. Um, or I feel like I've been here before, right? And so and being curious enough about it to kind of explore it. It might not show itself right away, but you're staying in the place of wonder allows because it will continue to repeat itself, right? Like your brain is constantly trying to get to resolve. And so the experience is going to be recreated until we get it, until we do something with it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that, huh, this keeps happening. I keep finding myself here, or somebody keeps saying the same thing to me, or I keep seeing the same thing. Every TV show I watch, it had the same message, right? Like just really being attentive to that it means something, or that there could be meaning, and that there's enough of like, huh, what is that about? I don't know. And then you could keep on going. But the fact that the question has been raised, it's there. Right. And so being able to kind of circle back around to, let me sit with that for a little bit. I don't really know exactly what that's connected to, but let me just sit with it. And so in sitting with it, then there may be this opportunity and where things start to kind of show up. I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that is. I remember in 10th grade with that person who did that thing, and it made me feel this way. I felt this before, and that's what it's connected to. And so and even in doing something like that and kind of floating back in that way, like really hearing yourself speak, like hearing yourself speak. Ooh, like, can you hear you? If you can't hear you, then we expect others to hear us? Yeah.
Yeah. And even if we use our voice, they might not hear us if we're using it from apart,
Mhm.
which is fascinating. And I feel like what you're really, really saying is it's not as important. I mean, we're all going to make mistakes or repeat our patterns, every single one of us. But the idea is, and I see, and if so many of my friends, me too, just we judge it. We're like, why is this happening again? Instead of sitting with it with curiosity and
Yeah.
inviting it to be noticed. And I
Yeah.
think that's really what makes the big difference.
Yeah. That's where the shift occurs.
Hmm.
To not be judgmental about it, to not like beat yourself up about it, to be angry with yourself about it, but to be curious about it and to wonder about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that you would like to add that you feel like we didn't cover?
Yeah. I think that we kind of covered a lot of ground here. And I think that giving yourself permission to be kind to yourself, to be patient with yourself, um, uh, to be gracious with yourself as you're trying to navigate and figure this all out. Like, it starts with you and being able to um, give yourself that kindness. And so, what can that look like? If you don't currently extend that to yourself, then what would it look like to extend kindness to yourself? I'm almost certain that you extend that to others. And so, how can that translate in extending it to yourself as you navigate? Yeah,
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's not easy always.
not at all. Yes.
Yeah, but it really does shift so much when
Yeah.
when we just say, okay, it's like an acceptance, like this is where I'm at. Let's see what I can learn here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was a beautiful conversation. And can you share with us how people can work with you and read what I think you have a blog as well, or some blog entries and a book.
Yes, yes, yes. So I am located in Annapolis, Maryland. My private practice is here. We do hybrid, in person or virtual. So you can reach us at fearlesslyinspiredsolutions.com. You can fill out the contact form there and we'll get right back to you. We also have a blog that is there. You can also follow us on at fearlessly inspired underscore Annapolis, to see what we're doing on IG. And then I do have a book, The Invisible Weight We Carry, Breaking Free from Generational Burdens and the Emotional Baggage. And that you can get on Amazon.com or Barnes and Noble online, that you can access it there. Or any of your local bookstore, you can go in and ask for them to order it.
Sounds amazing. Sounds like an amazing book that everyone should read. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.